gentlemen, welcome to another Musical People Rock show where we review all the latest albums that have come out and we mash them up together and we say which of these two rock bands that we're about to review will we prefer to buy. Today, I am welcoming in my crew Paul, Dave, Trish and Dom.
Hey.
Welcome to another wicked show, everybody! Woohoo! Right, who do we have on today's show? We have Temples and their new album Exotica and Waterparks and Intellectual Property. Which of these two mashup would we buy? But more importantly, at the end of the show, we are going to rate them out of 5. And if you don't know by now, if they get more than 20, they get into our Hall of Fame. Then we might get into our shortlist for Album of the Year. Where will they end up in the nearly 200 albums that we have currently reviewed? Whoa, what are we going to find out? But who are they? Who are Temples? Who are Waterpark? Well, I'll give you a quick little bit of background. So Temples are an English rock band formed in Kettering, England in 2012 by singer-guitarist James Bagshaw and bassist Tom Walmsley. The band's lineup was completed with the addition of keyboardist and rhythm guitarist Adam Smith and drummer Renz Otnick. Doesn't sound like he's from Kettering. They have released 4 studio albums, 2 EPs, and a number of singles. Their debut album, Sun Structures, was released in 2014 and charted number 7 in the UK charts. They signed for ATO Records and have toured internationally both as support act and as a headliner. Wicked. Dom, have you heard of Temples, my friend?
I hadn't heard of Temples, actually, but I really liked them. I thought they were great. It's this psych rock. This is now you're talking my language now. There's a strong element of indie in their style as well, which I just love, which is something that's really kind of mashing up. Noel Gallagher is a massive fan of them, I discovered. He really rates them because they haven't had any
That will explain something for me, which I'll come to later then.
Yeah. And they've supported bands like Suede and Kasabian and the Vaccines and people like that. They're kind of like, for me, almost like your perfect kind of festival band. I could just imagine myself Sunday afternoon, sunny afternoon at a festival, few beers in, smoking maybe, and you lay back in the grass and you're in the groove with this band and you're away. I really loved them. Maybe occasionally a little bit of style over substance occasionally, but actually I thought they were just great. They're a live festival band, I would say. And it transported well to recorded to an album, but I think they would be awesome live.
Cool. Trish, did you want to go to the Exotica Temples and dine further on this wonderful musical extravagance? So we'll move on. No.
Okay. I know of Temples because my husband has all of their CDs, so I've been exposed to their psychedelic pop rock sound. They have a sound akin to Tame Impala and the Flaming Lips. Again, bands that my husband likes and I've heard on in the background at home. In a way, maybe he should be writing this review. For me, the album at 16 tracks is a bit too long for me, but I'm always willing to listen once to an album and be objective. My interest did get lost along the way. It's an album you would have on in the background at a barbecue. It's a nice listen, just not an album I would personally choose to put on, but I'm sure fans will love it.
Dave?
Yeah, I mean, the first time I put it on, I was like, it's definitely not my particular type of style. But I really appreciate that they're trying to do something different. And the more and more I listened to it, the more and more it grew on me. The thing I like about it is it kept me guessing throughout. I didn't really know where they were going to go from one song to the next. And I like that from an album. And there were times when I was driving for work and I would be like, you know what? Just feel like a nice chill album. I'm going to stick the Temples album on again. And I must admit, this is probably one of the albums I listened to most this month. And really didn't think I was going to because, as I say, when I first put it on, really not my sort of style. But yeah, it's definitely one that's growing on me. It's one that I'm going to have to continue to listen to, I think. But it's definitely an interesting one.
Dave, you don't often surprise me. Okay, you don't often surprise me, Dave.
Well, you know.
You just blowing me away. I was just not expecting that, and that's a good thing because this is what this journey is all about. It's exposing us to different musics and trying to expose us to different things. And so, and I was speaking to Trish, and I was really two minds whether I would put these guys in, and I actually stuck to my guns because I had to cut down a few of the albums that we had to review, and I went, you know what? No, something's going to be different, whether I like it or not, irrelevant. I'm going to put something on that's different, and that's what I did, and actually that's a good reason why. So, Paul. Temples.
Sorry, a state of shock. I would never put this album in the car because I'd probably end up in a ditch comatose. No, I don't like stomping on albums and bands and stuff, but obviously this is my opinion. So yeah, this UK band from Kettering have been around for 10 years with Exotica being their fourth studio album. The songs and music range from psych rock to indie pop. I could have lived with listening to this type of music, and although this effort is not terrible, it's incredibly monotonous and a tepid record. Bands such as The Strokes and Foster People do much better with catchier and emotive songs. The musicianship is of a high quality, which is remarkable, as I feel as if this band had puffed on a giant bong filled with some dubious herbal substances for a week, and this is the result.
It's a good analogy, really. Well, Jim, surprisingly, I'm going to agree with two things that Dom has said. One, they've got style. Two, if you're at a festival and you're comatose and you're in a coma, they'd be great. You've drunk so much you don't give a shit what's playing. I would absolutely, totally and utterly agree with everything you said, Dom. But that's about it. The one thing I'm kicking myself about this band is the word rock. They're not rock. They're psychedelic pop. Maybe a little bit of indie influence, but that is really... And often I'm criticised for putting a band in and calling it rock, and you all have a go at me. And for once, I've got to say I don't think that this is a rock band. I really don't. I think they should not be terming themselves as a rock band. There's something else. There's something else entirely. But they're not. I can see some influence of indie rock in there, but I'm a massive fan of indie rock and a massive fan of it. I love it. But this is so not my cup of tea. In the slightest. There were one or two good tracks. There were one or two things that kind of caught my attention, and unlike other, like if this was industrial metal or screamo, that I just couldn't listen to the album. I listened to it. It was all right in terms of how an album would go, and I could see how people would like this style of music. But it was certainly not my cup of tea, and I wouldn't listen to it again. And I would certainly go wander off for a piss if they came on stage, and or if I was to go to another stage. And this certainly didn't grow on me. And I'm actually genuinely pleased that this growing on Dave. And yet at the same time, I'm not very happy because what have I done to him, really? I know I like to take people down on a journey, but really, have I taken him down a path that I'm going to go, oh my God, no, I was going to regret this. But
it's fine, Nigel. I listen to lots of random bollocks. So
that's right. Yeah, but you can leave Chris out of this for now. On that score. Right, okay. Who are they up against? Well, they are up against Waterparks. Let's find out a bit about Waterparks. Waterparks is an American rock band founded in Houston, Texas in 2011. The group currently consists of lead vocalist and rhythm guitarist As10 Knight, backing vocalist and lead guitarist Jeff Wingington, and backing vocalist and drummer Otto Wood. Their band have released 3 EPs, 2 of which were released independently, while a third was released via Equal Vision. The band released their debut album Double Dare on November 4th, 2016 via Equal Vision, and then later their second studio album Entertainment under the same label in 2018. 2019, the band announced that they'd left Equavision and signed with Hopeless. Their third studio album, entitled Fandom, was released on October 11th, 2019. The band then signed with 300 Entertainment, and their fourth studio album, The Greatest Hits, was released in 2021. The band signed with Fueled by Ramen in 2022, and their fifth studio album, Intellectual Property, is now released in April 2023, as we all know. So a bit of intellectual property. Well, these guys have leapt around from record label to record label, haven't they? So, Trish, then, let's start with you and Waterparks. How about a bit of intellectual property?
This album offers 11 perfectly formed bangers with their pop rock sound, bringing something fresh to the table, welcoming all types of sounds with this decent collection of catchy sing-along anthem. The album is fun listening experience. Listeners will get everything that they want. It did this for me and is a keeper. If you haven't listened to Waterparks before, then this album will make you want to float away.
Oh, interesting. Dave, did you float away with this album?
I found this album one of the most frustrating things to listen to that I've ever heard in my life. Certain parts of it I just absolutely hated, and then there were other parts I listened to it and went, I really, really like this. There's some pop punk sort of influences in certain tracks in there, which I really, really enjoyed. But the electric sort of, like the synth drums in certain tracks were just awful. And then you've got like, you know, proper sort of more traditional drums in other tracks. It's like, well, why don't you just do that throughout the album? It was just so frustrating to listen to. There were times that it actually made me angry listening to this album, which you shouldn't get from music ever, really, to be completely fair. But I would never listen to this again simply because it's like Dr. Jekyll and Hyde. It's just up and down all over the shop. It's mental.
Paul, bit of intellectual property and Waterparks. Did you want to go sliding down their parks, Paul? That doesn't sound right.
No, it doesn't sound right. And this album is incorrectly named. It should never be called intellectual property, but there we go. So for US rock band, Waterparks is their fifth album in 12 years. For artists in their 30-somethings, Waterparks sound like a boy band who want to swear a lot on their songs because they can, for the effect, or to emphasize posts on their Twitter accounts. Even in songs that are not illicit, the boy band songs probably have a message for the listener, but it is so generic that I found it difficult to concentrate to discover that message without making an effort of blanking out anything of interest to myself to listen to it, to force myself to listen to it. Where imagine if the songs like I Miss Having Sex, but at least I Don't Want to Die Anymore, and Stupid for You, which have been their previous mass releases, there isn't any. Waterparks have millions of fans, but I don't know how many of them will be enamored with this effort. I certainly wasn't.
Dom, Waterparks.
Yeah, it was a total mix-up album, to be honest with you. I mean, your opening track calling it Starfucker. Just come on, that was like ridiculous. And it is like big kids pretending to kind of mess around. I don't know if you've looked the guy up. He looks just like Gerard Way as well. He literally, when I saw them, I looked him up on YouTube, and he looks just like Gerard Way. It's pop, I would say. Are you talking about temples not being rock? Waterparks is pop, 100%. All the kind of voice modulation that was going on, pretty much every track, lead vocals were completely artificially modulated, the vocals. A little bit for effect. There's a little bit of hip-hop influence in there. There's the kind of samples. They're trying to kind of mix up and trying to create something alternative. But it felt to me like a bit of a con, really. And there were some bits in it that I actually quite like. I'm like with Dave, there's a few bits I thought, okay. There's some originality going on here. There's some new ideas. They're trying to take a kind of emo, pop, punk, grown-up type of vibe and then add something to it to make it a little bit different from My Chemical Romance or, Paramore or whatever. and that I give them respect, a little bit of respect for that. But yeah, it was a messed up album, I'd say.
I couldn't agree more. I think there was more rock in this than Temples, but it was poor rock. There was a bit more indie rock in here on occasions, and they tried mixing it up. They tried to go, hey, the influences of Linkin Park, influence of Chemical Romance, those sorts of bands, but then try to mash it up. And I get it. They might have gone like, let's do something different. Let's kind of mash it up. Let's try and make a new sound. Only it wasn't very good, and genuinely, I'd heard good things about it, so I went back and listened to it again, and maybe I'm missing something, and I went, no, it was there was distinctly average. It was a distinctly average album, really, for me. I mean, I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it. Actually, I more disliked it than liked it, I suppose. I don't know. I just couldn't make my mind up about it because, very frustrating. Because you wanted to like it, and coming off the back of the Fall Out Boy album, which absolutely is, one of the pinnacles of indie rock in the last few years. This is just a mashup of nothingness, really, and it doesn't really hit anything out of the park at all. So, not for me. And I do like my indie rock, and I do like a bit of mashup, but this just didn't really hit any buttons at all for me. But yeah, okay, why? I think this could be a close rating, not close on the. But anyway, let's find out, shall we? Let's start with Temples and Dom then. Let's start off with some positivity first of all, shall we?
This is the standout album of all of the albums that I listened to this month. I'm going to give it 4.5.
Okay, for the viewers that have previously listened to some of our shows, okay, and the look of the abject look of me giving, LA Guns 4, okay, what the? But anyway, as I said a couple of shows ago, we all have different perspectives. You have a poor man's different perspective, but 4.5. Trish, Temples.
2.
Dave.
I'm tempted to give it a 5 just to see if I can make your head explode.
Go do it.
No, 3.5.
Paul.
I'm in a state of shock, to be honest. 1.5.
1.5. Well, I think you're all generous. 1. Yeah, no. So, will it have hit our Hall of Fame? Not likely. 3, 6.5, 6.5, 7, 8, 12.5.
At least it's in double figures.
At best. There we go. All right. Okay. Let's find out about Waterparks then, and who we're going to buy. So, Dom, then we'll start with you. Waterparks.
I'll give it 2.
2. So you would buy Temples.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Trish.
4.
4.
I liked it.
4.
You're all Philistines.
You're going to buy Waterparks. Dave.
2.
2. You're going to buy Temples. And Paul, Waterparks.
1.
1. You'd buy Temples over Waterparks.
I wouldn't buy any.
Well, according to your rating, if you're forced at gunpoint, you're going to.
Well, yeah, but even if I make them exactly the same, you'll still make me choose.
I would.
And I don't want. So.
Well, you just did choose.
Yeah, I did.
Waterparks got a 2 from me. I'd go Waterparks all day long, and that's and then immediately throw it in the bin or donate it to a charity shop. Well, there we go. Okay, so we're looking at Temples. We'd buy Temples. 2, 6, 8, 9, 11. So there we go. Hey. Gone are our days, guys, when we would be giving 6s and 7s. Still not as bad as Arctic Monkeys. Anyway, but there we are. Okay, right. Okay, neither album is going to feature again on our show, which is a shame. Though,
Not.
You what?
Well, it is for Waterparks.
Well, for you maybe, and Well, look, at the end of the day, Dom's happy. He's buying an album. Trish may or may not buy Waterparks, but
No, I will.
Okay.
I go to see them live.
The best part for me was Paul's face when you said 11 banging tracks. I was just like...
Perfectly formed bangers, like Dom's chops.
Hey! I made the two combine for perfect harmony. There we go. All right then. Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining me on today's show. Please like and subscribe our show. It really does mean a hell of a lot to us. And keep sharing out there on social media. And thank you very much for joining me today. Thank you to my wonderful mad crew. And if you see me at a festival, Comatose, you know that Temples is on stage. Thank you to Paul, thank you to Dom, thank you to Trish, and thank you for Dave.
Bye.
Keep on rocking, everybody. Keep safe out there, and keep rocking on. Thank you very much. Goodbye.